Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I am your host, Lance Graulich, and today another, like I said, fabulous one. So imagine a tech-infused beauty brand. So let's say from unique virtual, I'm doing my eyelash move right now. You can't even see it if you're listening to the podcast. But from unique virtual eyelash try-ons to a cutting-edge lash application technique, this brand is certainly hot. Today, I want to welcome Miss Jennifer Blair, founder and CEO of Deka Lash. Welcome, Jennifer.
All right. Well, thank you for the nice introduction. Nice to be here.
Well, it is so awesome to have you here. So let's have some fun and let's talk about Deka Lash. You know, so many people say to me, eyelash extensions. How did this come about? Well, hold that question. Let's get back to that. Let's talk about Jennifer's history. How the heck did you get in franchising in the first place?
Yeah, I reflect on that question quite a bit, actually. How did I end up getting here? It's been a journey. I will tell you that. It's been about 10 years since this concept started. Back in 2012, I decided that it was time to get back in the workforce, to do a little something for myself. I basically had spent most of the years prior to that we have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. Deka's actually named after my 2 daughters, the first initials of their names. So that's Demi and Carly. So that's where the Deka came in. So I spent a lot of my time raising the kids. My husband traveled a lot for work. So, it really didn't make sense for me to have a job outside of the home just because everything that running around with the kids, activities, everything. So I stayed at home. And then as the kids started to get older, they were in school full time. It left me to say, okay, what's my next chapter? What am I going to do, with my life, and, kind of decide that, starting something wasn't new to me, to us, because we had several small businesses throughout our lifetime of being together, married. And so starting a business wasn't out of the question. And, I was into the beauty part of it just because of my mom growing up. She was always into, she worked in a salon. So after school, I'd get dropped off there. She sold professional beauty products. She had me signed up in different teen pageants and, modeling. She kind of we were together, and she was a young mom. So we kind of grew up together, and that was always something that was in our background, and always fun stuff going on.
Love it.
So I kind of stumbled across the eyelashes, which it was new 10 years ago. It wasn't as mainstream as it is now, which I believe Deka's helped to make that more mainstream for women. We have about 126 locations right now and growing. Awesome. But back then, eyelashes were not a thing. And I went to have the service done myself. And I had a really hard time finding a place to get them done. They were either an add-on service at a salon, or someone came in every other week to do them. There just wasn't a lot of availability. And in addition to that, it was really expensive to have done. It was $200, $300, to get a full set of lashes. Yes. And they don't last forever. So that is investment. And then there's the reoccurring, the refills. So, it seemed like there was a gap, in that industry. For somebody like me, trying to get an appointment, there was probably other people wanting to get that appointment too. We were going away specifically to away. And I was looking to have them for a special event. So needless to say, with all of that, I wasn't able to have them done. But while I was away, I did find the time, and I absolutely loved eyelashes. They were natural feeling. They gave the pop in your eyes. You just felt better when you looked at yourself. So in my mind, I was like, okay, how am I going to get a refill when I go back home? So that was where the idea kind of came up, where that I was, I came to Mike and I was like, what do you think about, offering eyelash extensions and, making it a service and getting trained? And, he was on board, like I said, we had other businesses and he was like, if this makes you happy, at this time we had no idea we were franchising. I was just getting back into the workforce. So,
right.
but that's kind of the backstory of how the idea was born.
And like anyone that does market research, you called some of your friends and said, so this is what I'm thinking.
Right.
I can't find a good place to get my eyelashes done that's affordable with a quality, etc. And you had plenty of friends that agreed with you, right?
I did. I had people agree with me.
And Deka was
more
born.
women than men. They quite didn't know what I was talking about so much, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the men were like, yeah, whatever you're talking about.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So what was the next move? So you thought of the idea and then you opened your first location?
Yeah. So we opened our first location. Well, first I rented a space out of a salon. That was the first entry, and proved out the concept that I ran it as that's the only thing I did was eyelashes. Well, let me back up. I took the training class and I actually ran a Groupon for the service. So not knowing how the service was, like how it was going to be perceived. Back then, Groupons were also a newer thing, and it was a good way to market without putting a lot of money. It's like a consignment. So that's what we do. I had contacted them and said, hey, I got this concept, this idea. They were all over it. And they were like, sure. At that time I had, I was hoping that maybe I would get 10, 20, a handful or more appointments out of it and clients. And that was going to be my introduction. Yes. The Groupon actually sold out 250 within a very short period of time. So it was game on for me at that point, because it wasn't just an idea of getting back to work or, right. Having, a little extra money. It was like, oh my gosh, I have this full, lineup of people waiting to get this service done. So that, looking back, that was the first sign. Okay. People want this, right? Like there's a need if there was that many people that jumped on board. So we, ran the Groupon. I started providing the services. What I found was at this point that I was as excited as offering the service as they were receiving it. So now this has become a passion of mine, because the way that people looked and felt different about themselves and the compliments that they were receiving afterwards when they would come back for their appointments and tell me about it, I was like, this is not just eyelashes. This is not just, there was something more to it. It was really building people's confidence and, just making them feel better about themselves. And, when you feel better about yourself, you're more productive. And when you're more productive, you're more successful. So there started to be this whole backstory of what we were doing other than just eyelashes. And that's when we were like, okay, so we decided, and we use, because my husband's always coaching me in the background. Right. And we're co-CEOs in the company now. We decided.
So did you put eyelashes on Michael to practice? No. Is that what you did?
He will not go for that. There's been some other, guys on the corporate that we, as they wanted to see what it was like as a kind of a thing that we do sometimes in the office, but no, not Mike. He would not, he would not get them done. So maybe someday. But so we moved out of the salon and decided to open up a brick and mortar that was just dedicated to just eyelashes only. Had a sign, that was what we decided to move out of the salon altogether. And that proved to be very positive. I mean, we had people driving hour and a half to come and get an appointment to somebody who specifically did one service. And I think, a lot of it was, that's the way the industry was going. If you think about it, even the big gyms, like there was the boutique, that went out and nails were on their own and waxing's on their own. So there's different, so it was people wanted that boutique feel. And that's when we were like, we need to open more of these before anybody else catches on to the idea. So we opened up another 3 studios pretty quickly in Pittsburgh. And at that same time, I formed a training academy for people to learn how to do eyelashes. So to be able to grow, I also had to be able to train people to do the service. And that's what really allowed me to open those extra, locations, because there were more people that wanted eyelashes than actually had the skill set to do it, because they traditionally don't teach that in a beauty school. So your esthetician or your cosmetologist, that they don't get that real hands-on training for eyelash extensions. So once we did that, the academy, it allowed us to grow in Pittsburgh to 4 locations. And then that's when we actually started. That's when we decided we needed to franchise and take this.
So where did the whole franchise idea come from? Because I know you and Mike were entrepreneurial, but you never had a franchise before. So where did that idea come about?
So, we did try another concept prior to that. We thought about licensing the idea.
Gotcha.
And that quickly, we decided that wasn't a good idea because we couldn't have control of the brand.
Yeah. It's a little bit loosey-goosey when
it's a little bit loosey-goosey. Yeah. So like the logo would, and you don't want that as you grow. You want consistency. You want people to be able to come in and know and get that feel of you're going to get that same service, by the same studio wherever you go. So that we decided, we knew that franchising and keeping that consistent and the training and everything that we have was important. So
although if it was a licensing deal, the Big Mac could be a Big Mike. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So who presented the franchise idea, and at what point did you guys go, wow, that sounds like a great idea, we're going to start franchising this thing across the country?
Yeah, that was my husband, Mike. He is, he's a big thinker. I was content with the one store, then content with just owning Pittsburgh. But he was the one who was like, we can do this. If we've proven this model out here, we can take this. And we wanted to grow, but we just knew that it was easy. It was easier to grow through franchising than to keep opening up our own individually. So it seemed to be a good way to share that with other people. And we knew the feeling, on the consumer side, and that drove us to be able to offer the service more convenient, more affordable to people like we were doing in Pittsburgh.
Got it. So 120 something, how many locations right now open?
I think 126, might be 127 this week. I think we're opening one.
I love when founders lose count, because that means there's so many, and that's wonderful. That's just amazing.
There's a lot going on. Yes.
So square footage, what is the square footage of a typical location?
We look for somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. That's the typical location.
Got it. And
in a female-friendly, what we call, plazas, where other like businesses are in there. We also like to see who our neighbors are going to be and who we fit in well with.
What do you work really well next to? What type of businesses? Coffee shops, I would imagine.
Well, like I said, it's female friendly. So when you think about nails and you think about hair and you think about, fitness, concepts like Pure Barre, Pilates, like those kind of things, that's where we fit well, where you get that foot traffic, that people are already going there, and you can hit a couple spots all at once and get everything done.
Love it. So what is the typical investment overall on average?
So it ranges right from where you're at, but the typical investment is somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 to be able to get in a studio and up and running and have the extra capital for the startup cost. Wonderful.
And obviously for those listening, the franchise disclosure document will show the high end versus the low end. And as Jennifer mentioned, really construction is what changes it quite a bit, depending on whether you get a first generation or second generation space that you're converting, of course. So when you think of your best franchisees, you've been around long enough, what did they do? Because some people listening are like, wow, this sounds really interesting. And other people like eyelash. And by the way, let's talk about, so Deka Lash, what exactly are the services? We know it's all eyelash related, but, describe Deka Lash.
So, right. So eyelashes is our main service that we do, but we also have other complementary services around the eyes. So we do brows as well. We do tinting. We have hydrating under eye treatments while you're getting your service done. So, it's really focused on the face and the eyes particularly.
Got it. Perfect. And so when you think of your typical, your top 10% of high performing best franchisees, now that you have this great history, what do these people do before investing in a Deka Lash franchise?
Well, there's a lot of the people are, executives, C-suites, corporate no real beauty experience. That's definitely not necessary, but it's people who are looking to, have their own business, looking to make their own future. It's people who are passionate about being part of their community and people who are passionate about helping people, because that's, really it's empowering women. That's kind of the whole, business behind what we're doing. But there's a bunch of different people, not even, when I think of the top, not even like executives, maybe it's the executive, but the wife's running the business, right? It's time for her to have something on her own, and he's in the background, helping out. So a lot of couples be able to get in this with the front end and the back end mentality of, customer facing, and then, kind of the back end part of the business. So there's definitely a diverse background, which is nice.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And you have quite a few franchisees that own multiple locations, not just single units.
Right. So we're a fairly new brand, right? We've been around, now it's 5 years. We're celebrating our 5-year. So we are coming up on that time now where, they're opening their second and third locations. And so it's growing within, our own little network, not necessarily new, but we are adding new owners, every month at the same time. But yes, right. So yeah, we're having a mixture of openings.
It always tells me, being a franchise broker and franchisee of many restaurant type brands over the years, when you see multi-unit development, there's good unit economics. So I'm assuming your item 19 or your earnings claim in your franchise disclosure document, I know you have some really good high performing stores. You list out all of the sales for the stores that have been open for X period of time, is what I hear.
We do. Yes. So if you look at our item 19, you will see we list all of our stores. So you can see, from the high to the medium, and in between. So it gives you a good idea. And, some just list all the high ones, but we give good insight to the business.
No, I love that. I love that transparency. So sort of to sum up where we've been so far, I'm thinking about it. So you have people from all walks of life. You have multi-unit development going on. It seems to be that you're exploding with growth now with 126-ish, locations. Let's talk about a little bit of the tech side of the business, the way I did the intro. I've always heard Deka Lash explain with that sort of tech focus. This isn't just any lash extension or lash lounge type concept. So describe that a little bit, how that came about.
That concept as well, it started early on we had, which seems very simple now, but online booking, something that's convenient that wasn't happening then. And we did that because of just the growth and, we didn't want people answering the phones while we're in the studio. And that has rolled over into, we have a centralized customer service center. So we have a call center that takes the calls for all of our locations. And when the call comes in, it's able to pop up, see exactly which location they're calling for. So they answer it. And they know the studios, the lash artists. The customer service center is also trained on everything about eyelashes. So they can answer your questions really, really well. There's also AI built on the back end of that. So we're able to answer the phones 24 hours a day. So if somebody's calling in or wants to even chat, so we have the chat function on the website. And people do make eyelash appointments at 2 a.m. in the morning. So we want to be available when they want, when they're feeling it. So, we have that technology to support. And of course, because, we're in 38 different states. So, we're all over the map with different time zones. And, so we're able to, navigate all of that through that technology. We have the eyelash simulator, which allows you to try on different services right on our website or from your mobile phone. So you can see what the lashes look like on before you come in. So you can get a good idea, because we have several different styles to choose from. And that's like a really cool feature that people, can use. And even when they're in the studio, it's a nice consultation piece to say, hey, maybe you don't know which one. Well, let's pull it up and see what you look like beforehand. So, that's another pretty cool, it's fairly new, and it's one of our like wow factors that I like to definitely highlight for sure. So, but we have our mobile app, we have check-in process when you come in. We have, like I said, no front desk. So it's all, technology driven. So you come in, you get a message on your phone that says, thank you for your, coming here. Your lash artist will be with you right now or right in a few minutes. And, so it allows for a lower overhead cost because of that technology, because you don't have to have that person at the desk doing all that greeting. We have technology that does it for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as you list off and go through all of those pieces, I think of one of my marketing friends, he always calls it friction. There's no friction in that experience, because you just make it easy.
Yes.
There's so many places, between my wife and my daughter, occasionally when they need certain services, I know they're always frustrated in a non-franchise, especially. Not necessarily in lashes, but trying to get appointments and various different things. So,
yes,
because people always ask, well, why a franchise? Well, it's got to be a better overall experience because they've invested the money in these things in the first place, right?
Yes. Yep. You worked all those kinks out beforehand, and you have that system in place.
So tell me about training. It's, I'm sure, a big question that pops up when you're getting people through your process. They become a franchisee. What does that look like? What is the requirement for training?
So we have we have different tracks for training depending on, who you are within our system. So the first and foremost is business training, right? And that's what we offer for our owners. And we call it Deka U for Deka University. And it is a full training, right? We're still doing them virtually right now. It used to be in person, but we're doing them virtually. They work out great. And we just go through all of the operation pieces, operations manual, of what it takes to run a studio. And, we spend 3 days going over all of that material. We also have another track that's for lash artists. And we actually, once you're open, somebody from corporate will come to your studio and spend 4 or 5 days in your studio with your lash artist, training them. They'll also be with you as a business owner to help you make sure that your studio is set up from everything from your products to your point of sale, that you're comfortable using your point of sale, comfortable contacting the customer service center, making sure that all of that pieces work. And we call that period ILT. So that's your initial lash artist training. But, really we're there to hold your hand through that whole opening, the first week of opening while you're there, to make sure that everything runs smooth. And any questions that you have, if we don't have the answers, we're there, then we can reach out to somebody that does.
I'm sure there's a checklist, and your trainers are making sure that people are following procedures, staying in compliance. And you're like, I think I might need to give them extra help or something. And there's always somebody that needs extra help and other people that get it right away, right?
There is. And that's, that's why we really have, we've dedicated to regions. So you have that person that you start off with a real estate person, who helps you find your location. We look at the demographics. We look at the female population. We look at household income. We start off making sure that your location is the right location. And then they walk you through all those permits and everything that you need to start before that build out process. Right. And then they're there to make sure you're ordering your, furnitures and fixtures. And we do all of that in one location, where I know some franchises, they give you a checklist and you might have to go to Wayfair for this and Sam's Club for that. And everything, we have an all-in-one box solution. That's awesome. Our FF&E is one package. So, we help them know when to order that to make sure it's delivered on time, depending on how their build out goes. And then you're handed off to one of our franchise success managers, depending on what region you're in. And then you're coupled up also with a regional marketing manager. So those two people are your people throughout the whole entire process of, opening to sustained the whole time. They're there to support you, not only in the beginning, but the whole way through. And then, like I said, then we have our lash artist training too. And that's another department that helps run your business and with the services and products inside.
Sounds like you got everything covered. So who are you really looking for when people go through your process and they come to somebody in franchise development, business development, they have initial conversations, eventually they get to you, right? I mean, are you the final person that does the selection of, hey, this person's definitely right for us? How does that process work? And how do you know they're right?
Yeah. So our franchise development team puts them through a process. And it's probably, similar to others. They have to show up. They go through different exercises, videos that they need to watch, questionnaires that they need to fill out. Of course, we make sure their finances are in order. And then they come to us, and we have what we call Meet Your Team Day. And they meet with the leadership team. So it consists of myself and others. So I'm, although I am a big decision maker in bringing on somebody new, there are other people. So as they come through Meet the Team Day, they're interviewing us and we're interviewing them to see if they're the right fit. Usually by the time they get to that point, they are, because our development team does do a really good job of making sure that they know who is a good fit for Deka Lash. So, but if I were to kind of just say a couple of things I think that we look for are definitely people who are passionate about helping others, passionate about being part of their community, because even though we are, you're part of a franchise, you really are a community-based business.
Yeah, you're local. You're local no matter what.
You're a local business owner, and people want to know you as a local business owner. You need to connect and be part of that community. And that's really, like a very important piece, because, all the marketing in the world you can do, but like, you've got to sell yourself too. Like, you've got to be out there. It's your business at the end of the day. So it's passionate people about what we're doing, helping others, and, community based, and people who are able to be team players, because being part of a franchise is being part of a team. And, you've got all these other business owners out there that are doing the same thing you're doing. And we like to collaborate and bring people together. And, that's important too, just to be a team player.
Yeah. I always tell people that when people start investigating different franchises and get introduced, or I introduce them to brands, I say, well, it's a little like dating. The first conversation's like a coffee date. Yeah. It's light. It's two-way street. You're both getting to know each other, and then it gets more serious. And when you get to meet corporate, I call that meet the parents. So, yeah. Sounds
it is a commitment, just like a relationship or a marriage. It's a 10-year commitment. So hopefully that's longer than most people, or it's
longer than most marriages.
Yeah, right. Marriages should last a lot longer than that, but you know what I mean.
So Jennifer, any final thoughts or words of wisdom for our listeners?
I would just say, with some of the things that I just said earlier is something that's your passion, to lead and inspire a team, and, to be part of the community and make a difference in people's lives, then I would say Deka Lash is the brand for you.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, Deka Lash, thank you so much for being here. This was awesome information. You're amazing. And until next time.
All right. Until next time.
Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.